Hey friends, happy Friday. I am so excited that we are working on this quiz today because you guys have just come so far. Think about at the beginning of the year when we just started learning about how to read and write decimals, and now you're working on multiplying and dividing them. It's amazing. Okay, so we're going to focus on question number 2 first because that is a division problem, and we really haven't talked all that much about division quite yet when it comes to decimals. So let's look at that one. Okay, now clicking back to my other questions, these all relate to multiplication, so these you are pretty much going to be doing on your own. Notice that for question number 1 that asks you, which of the following area models represents the equation 70 hundredths, which of course is the same as 7 tenths, times 40 hundredths, which of course is the same as 4 tenths, equals 28 hundredths. So look at these models, and the only hint I'm going to give you is that you should focus on which of the models shows you a darkened, shaded portion that represents 28 hundredths. And I'm talking about this portion here that is the really dark gray. That represents the overlap between 7 tenths and 4 tenths. And this is something we talked about in small group this week. So if you've been missing small groups or not able to make it, make a resolution for next week to come to all your small groups. All right, question 3, solve. Prove your answer by drawing a model. Oh gosh, we have another division problem here. 18 hundredths divided into 3 equal groups. Well, we're going to do this one together because, again, like I said, we really haven't done a whole lot of division yet. Let's do it together. And this one shouldn't be too difficult. Copy. For questions 5, 6, 7, and 8, notice that you don't have to do the calculations involved here. They have already done the multiplication for you. So like for number 5, 4 and 83 hundredths times 4 and 3 tenths, they're telling you that this is the product. You do not need to solve this equation. What you do have to do is correctly put the decimal point in where it needs to be. So notice that here I have 1 place, here I have 2 places, so my decimal point needs to have 3 digits following it. So for this one, my product would be 20 and 769 thousandths. Same for 6, 7, and 8. You look at these multiplication expressions and figure out where the decimal point needs to be. Next, we're going to look at question number 4. This tells us to solve and prove our answer by drawing a model. We're going to multiply 1 5 tenths times 4 tenths. Now remember, when you multiply a decimal times a decimal, you need to pay attention to your place value. I have 1 place value position to the right of my decimal point for my first factor. And then for my second factor, I have 1 place value position to the right of my decimal point also. So that means that my product needs to have 2 place value positions to the right of the decimal point when I'm done multiplying. Okay, so this should be pretty easy multiplication here. 4 times 5 is 20. Put down the 0, carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 1, plus 2 more is 6. Don't forget your 0 as a placeholder. Okay, and then I'm just doing zeros, so actually I think I'm just going to have... All right, so I need to have 2 places in my product. So I'm going to go ahead and place my decimal point here. And that gives me a product of 6 tenths or 60 hundredths. And paste. All right, so let me make it bigger for us. That will help. Let's take our dividend, which is 1800ths, and shade that in first. That's a nice, easy first step. So I've got 1/10 plus 800ths, so that's 200ths, 400ths, 600ths, and 800ths. And now this is a nice easy one to do because 18 and 3 are compatible numbers. If I take 1800ths and divide them into 3 equal groups, I know that I'm going to have 600ths in each group. So I can just take a different color pen here and show, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 600ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's another group of 600ths. And that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600ths. So there's 3 groups of 600ths. What equation does this model represent? Now the first thing we always want to do is think about how we would set up this problem using this kind of structure, which is our dividend, or our total, divided by our divisor equals our quotient. So the first thing that jumps out at me when I look at this model is that the red shapes are showing me 3 equal groups. So in this model, we have sum total, and I don't know what value this represents quite yet because I haven't counted it up, divided by 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in our dividend divided by 3 equals our quotient, and that will eliminate choices B and choice C. Now let's look at choice A and that will eliminate choice B and choice, looks like there's a typo here, wonderful. All right, so hang on, let's fix the typo before we go any further. This should be choice D. We are eliminating choices B and D, and that leaves us with choices A and C to select from. So choice A says 1 2/10 divided by 3 equals 4/10. And choice C says 1200ths divided by 3 equals 4/10. So both of them have the same quotient, so I can go ahead and plug that in. And when I look at choice C, this says 1200ths, and I can clearly see that I have more than 1200ths shaded in on my model. 1200ths would look like this. That would be 1/10 plus 200ths. So I know it can't be choice C. That really only leaves me with choice A. Let's make sure that choice A makes sense. This quantity here represents 1 whole. Think like 1 whole pan of brownies. And then over here I have 2/10. So that does make sense. Choice A, 1 2/10 divided by 3 equals 4/10. All right, next question. Sydney used a model to solve the problem below. Her work and answer is in bold. What is the product of 4/10 and 8/10? This is what she solved here. 4/10 times 8/10 equals 3600ths. So you need to check and see if she's multiplied correctly, if her model is correct or incorrect, and then write a sentence here that says, yes, she is correct, and here's why, or no, she is not correct, and here's why she is not correct. Then you're going to use the model to solve the problem correctly. So here's your area that you're going to be shading to show 4/10 times 8/10.